Well, I can tell you it was an extraordinarily happy family. My father was a merchant, a businessman, but he most of all was a father. He was an unusual in a way because he played with us, which was not done really for a middle-class father. It was left to nannies and other things, but he did. He walked with us, a very important person in my life. And my siblings and I, Emily was a very good student as a little girl already and kind of taught me to read at an early age. Brigitte was more happy-go-lucky and enjoyed playing sports. And I did not enjoy playing sports. I was usually called the lazy Hedda who liked to sit in a chair. But I loved to watch it, and I loved to be there. But I was not very good in running or anything like that. So my present state is really what my mother said. That's exactly what happens to you. School, I entered school as all children do at age 6. And my teacher was Frau Hempel, very strict teacher. We were almost 40 children in a class, all sitting on long benches. But there was never unruliness of any kind. We had only 3 classes in the morning: reading, writing, and arithmetic. And on Saturdays, we had singing and gym or sports. So the first 3 grades, I loved school very much. And normally after the fourth grade, you would take an exam test, and then would enter the high school. But without wanting to show off, but at 3rd grade, I took a test and I was put into high school. So I entered early and I was very young the entire time. I loved English, and I remember when we learned English, I felt extremely happy, and Inge Schmidt and I, we walked together to school. One day we took the streetcar home because it was raining, and occasionally my mother allowed us 10 cents or 10 Pfennig to take the streetcar. And in the streetcar, Inge and I spoke English. She would say to me, "And how are you?" And I said, "Oh, I'm just fine, thank you." Emphasizing that because we had just learned to say thank you. And we were sure now we would be arrested because we were foreign spies on the streetcar, but nothing happened. So, but anyway, I loved English, which I learned at age 9 actually began, and then at age 11 we began to learn French in addition. So that was my favorite, and math. Well, I liked it all. I liked school. Outside of Lübeck, which is at the bay of the Baltic Sea, Travemünde Bay, is a seaside resort called Travemünde. Trave is a river, and Munde means the mouth of the river. A lovely little resort. And we went there every summer. We took the train in the morning, went to the beach, built our little sand castle, put our sand basket in there for the summer, which my mother rented. And we had a wonderful time. But in the summer, in August, something very strange happened at 11 o'clock in the morning. A plane with a huge sign Trump, which is a huge chocolate factory in Germany. And we looked up and it was very low, and wasn't it fun? We could almost see the pilot. And then all of a sudden, it rained chocolate. And you can imagine all the children. We ran to get the chocolate that fell on the beach. Wonderful. Most mysterious. The next day, we waited, and sure enough, around 11, the plane came. Once again, chocolate. This happened 3 times. And then it stopped. Our chocolate season was over with. And soon thereafter, we learned that this was a spy plane investigating the location of the harbor. Unfortunately, we had a tragic thing happen in our family. That is that my father became very ill. Nobody could find out really what it was that he had. Did he have a brain tumor? Did he have this? Did he have that? And he was hospitalized often. And when he was home, I would sit and read to him. My father died September 16, 1936. And that was kind of the first thing that I had to notice with the Hitler regime. My mother received a letter from the government that since my father died of an undiagnosed disease, she would certainly understand that the government could not possibly be responsible for helping her children, since it was unknown whether they might be afflicted with the same disease that our father had. I overheard my mother talk to her mother, my grandmother lived with us. And I overheard that, and my mother was in tears. Not, I didn't understand why this whole thing was, but she got a bad letter. Then, a little while later, 2-3 weeks after that, a wonderful car arrived in front of our house, filled with beautifully dressed political officials. And they came to honor my mother and grandmother because you got a mother cross for 4 children in bronze. And my mother got the mother cross in bronze, and so did my grandmother. So, on one way, she was told her children were not any good, and the next 2 weeks later, she was given this bronze mother cross. Lübeck was a business town, a merchant town, and we had a rather big Jewish population. But nobody really knew who was Jewish or not. Yes, we had a synagogue, but they were not very religious Jews. So our next door neighbor was a Jew, and they had a son called Hans. They were called Blumenberg. Hans Blumenberg was 2 years older than my sister Emily, and known to be the brightest boy in all of Schleswig-Holstein. This is sort of New York State. He was really very smart. And so when we played with Hansi, he was our good friend. We liked him a lot because he was inventive, and our games with him were phenomenal. So anyway, Hansi graduated from high school, got his Abitur, which is the last day. And normally the top student will be given the honor of addressing the school and the public and so forth. But since Hansi was Jewish, they wouldn't allow it. And so he was just handed the piece of paper. I mean, my sister Emily was witnessing this, and that was it. It was an insult beyond words. And Frau Blumenberg was not allowed, this I witnessed, was not allowed to go shopping around like here in East Aurora in the stores. She had to go way away and was not allowed to use streetcars. So she asked my mother whether I would do the shopping for her. And I did. She threw the money down in the garden. They were our neighbors. Threw the little bag with her money down, and I went shopping with the list that she gave me. And then I brought it back, and at a time when my mother said, "Now you go," I would go and bring it to Frau Blumberg. She opened the door just a little bit. I handed her the bag, whatever leftover money was, and she would give me a cookie or a candy or something. So that I certainly knew was something. Why was this done to Frau Blumberg? She was so kind and so nice. Why wasn't she allowed to do this. Then, as you remember, came the famous book burning. And my mother was a great, great reader and a great fan of Lübeck's very own Thomas Mann. And we had all his books. So one day she said to Emily, "Go and have Hedda help you put all Thomas Mann books in the back row of the bookshelf and something else up front, because we were not allowed to have Thomas Mann. They would be burned." My mother's brother, Hans, was a physician, and he worked in Hamburg, which is nearby. My uncle was suddenly imprisoned. It was hush, 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 and nobody talked about it. And where was he? He was not in Hamburg. He was not in his practice. He was gone. Uncle Hans was arrested because he was a homosexual. And he was sent to the prison camp in Dachau, concentration camp, where he, as he told me, Hedda, it was unbelievable and treated like the scum of the earth.